And I think that's what a lot of it is. All right, let's talk about what we can do. So one, let's train and then train more. 40% right off the top. That's an important number. We can make ourselves 40% safer just by teaching people. And to Ryan's point earlier, KnowBe4 and other tools of that sort really are good for phishing. They stop us from phishing. They stop us from clicking the links because they make us aware of it, and then they test us, then they train us, then they test us again. And so we have seen organizations go from an 80% click rate to a 0.05%. That's great. Still 0.05, right? Something got through, but 80%. So
That's
what?
How you know it's working.
79.00095% went away. That's really good. That helps because those might be the devastating ones. They know how to trick us. They know that we are going to do things that we shouldn't do, and we're going to be tired or too much caffeine in my case, right? We're going to click that link. And your people are our first line. We are all in this together. It is no longer can they just say, oh, it's the firewall's fault. It's all of our faults. We all have to work together, not because we're the weakest link, but because we need to use these systems. And so training people in how to use them best possible way, that's the goal. And understanding they're going to click it anyway, so let's plan for it. Here's the greatest rule of all of this. Think for 3 seconds before you click. And it's probably true before you send emails or texts or anything, right? Just take a moment, think about it. Why am I going to click that link? Is it say urgent? Does it meet some of these other concerning things? Do I expect it? Ask yourself those questions before you click the link. And to Alex's point, do not click as default, right? Don't click as default. Do not click as default. Steps to help stop spear phishing. Do not rely on a single layer of security. Okay, defense in depth. We'll talk about that in a second. Perform cyber incident response drills. Let's train. It's like we train for hurricanes and everything else. And, unfortunately, disasters. Let's also look at this like a potential disaster. Conduct ongoing security awareness training. Let's make people aware that these things are happening. Some of the ones we showed you today were real examples from things we've seen recently. Keep all equipment and software current, patching and patching and patching, but also replacing older systems as we can so that we close those. And once again, the first rule, train, train, train. Second rule, train, but then block DNS at the firewall. DNS attacks we've seen. We were dealing with, unfortunately, with an incident affecting a county recently that's been really well handled by that team, though. I have to, all kudos to the IT guy who's part-time and just did a phenomenal job in protecting him and making sure it didn't attack. That's important, but all of that was kind of DNS-related cache poisoning kind of concepts. So making sure that we're not allowing just any DNS. We have to go to a trusted source for DNS, as many things. It's really important. And then the third rule, manage what you share. Stop oversharing. Don't help the bad guys. We don't need to give them everything and then make it easy. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to be out of office that day. It really is something we have to make difficult for them. And we're going to talk about monitoring and monitoring and monitoring some more because we want to know when these things are going on. Training, absolutely important. Training, 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 whether it's cyber hygiene or it's defense training for ITs and professionals so that we know how to teach everybody about cyber hygiene, but also what other layers to do and how to do things like tiered Active Directory structures. And don't use your super user password for your admins and then check in your email, right? You have to be, if you're an IT person with those kind of credentials, you should be 3 people, right? Here is where split personality is a good thing. And then also we have to plan for it. What do we do when it happens? Companies such as Phish Goggles using KnowBe4, and that's their methodology, do this for us. They start a campaign, it tests all of us in a blind campaign, and then they train us to stop it. People find these annoying, by the way, because they get more phishes. And they are really tricky, right? And people don't like to be tricked. But the point is we're training them not to be as trickable, right, going forward. So really helping them protect themselves.
Yeah, better that you click on a link that was from training than you click on
right. And what do? They say, hey, here's why you don't click that link. Here's how to recognize it. Those kind of things. So maybe you're less likely to do it. And as I mentioned before, it's really effective.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, if you did click a link, somebody did click a link, you can actually take it apart, figure out why did I click that link, and maybe prevent it from happening again.
Oh, absolutely.
At least that same way.
Very, very useful and good methodologies to do so.
Self-iteration, you know.
Yeah, and it does. And you can run those campaigns as often as you need to. People don't like it, but it's really good for them. And when you talk about it that way, when you say, look, guys, we're trying to make everybody safer. That's the goal. Don't make it a negative thing. And then let's plan for what happens when they click that link. Do they know what to do, right? Did they save it? Do you understand what the risks are? Do you understand the layers of protection and the tools and how we would use those should we have to? Have we done the training so that they actually report it to us? Or did they just delete it and pretend it didn't happen? And then all things happen, right? Because we didn't know that they clicked on it. I have to say that one of the most impressive things I have seen in 30 years of cybersecurity is when we were at a small county helping them deal with an attack, and one of the admin people came up to me in tears and she said, I clicked the link, it was all my fault. In front of an entire room who's been working, 24/7 for a few days. And the point was, it wasn't her fault. We were able to use that knowledge to track it backwards from that point to others and figured out that part of the attack didn't work. So she wasn't responsible. But had she been, and had she, if she had told us, it really helps to understand how it spreads and help us contain it.
We were able to rule that out really quickly because she'd come forward.
Absolutely, so incredibly useful. And she was so afraid to do it, and she was so courageous that she did it anyway. So we have to have that. That has to be ingrained into our folks as part of the training. Come to us, tell us that this happened. And then put in the policies that help us establish that. It's our policy to understand and to share and to know and not to fire and berate and lock you in a room because you clicked on that link. We're not going to do that. It has to be that positive type of thing. And then we got to plan for it. We have to have an incident response plan, and then we've got to use it. We've got to actually follow it as much as we can so that we can do it, maybe just through training, right?